Well, hello. Welcome to yet another episode of Peak Performance Secrets. My name is Kamoya Benjamin, and I'm delighted to bring today's lunch and learn to you. Now, I identify as a peak performance coach. If this is your first time connecting with me, peak performance is really deploying yourself at the optimum mindset and skill set in order to create more, whatever more is for you, whether more income, more impact, more clarity, more assertiveness, more decisiveness, whatever more represents, more cohesion. And I work with individuals and teams to help them create more, whatever that is. And this lunch and learn is designed to support you to develop the, mindset that is the awareness, ahas, insights to help you deploy yourself at that optimum mindset to create the results that matter the most for you. Now, in today's episode, we're talking about something that I love, and it's five tensions to grow your leadership. Five tensions to grow your leadership. Now, as we're talking about tension, what exactly are we referring to? Tension in our conversation today refers to what we experience when we use a rubber band. Okay, when I pull this rubber band right here, what you notice this right here is what I mean by tension. What exists when I pull this rubber band is tension. I've got another one here that's slightly bigger. When I pull this is what tension is. What you feel when you pull the rubber band on both sides, what you feel is what I mean by tension. And so when we're referring to the five tensions that are required in order to grow your leadership, I want you to notice that we are referring to a way in which you can position and put yourself and put your life in a space of tension as a requirement for growth. I might say this as we start this teaching, that without tension, there can be no growth in your life. Without tension, there can be no growth in your life. And I've only selected five. I do this teaching where I have more than 12 tensions that you need to create, but I do not have at my command the time to go into all the 12 today. I wanted to share with you what I believe are the top five. Now, again, if you don't have tension in your life, you will not grow. What are some of the benefits of tension? Let's look at them very quickly. Now, tension helps us to close the gap between where we are and where we are capable of being. Capable introduces us to the concept of our potential and capacity to be more, to do more, and have more. Closing the gap here means that tensions, this actually broke, tension seeks to be resolved. Tension seeks to be revolved. Anytime we are in this tension, if you pull a rubber band, the more you pull it, the more you feel. You can even see some people when you just put it in their face, they're like, oh, wait a minute, that's going to snap. Anytime that there is tension, tension seeks to be resolved. And so when we introduce tension in our lives, it helps us close the gap between where we are, a place called here, and where we could be, a place called there, based on our capacity and capability. So in the discussion today, I'm introducing five tensions that you need to create. And those tensions are helping you close that gap between where you are and where you're capable of being. If this is your first time, you probably haven't heard me talk about this, but I love to talk about that idea that, leadership, the justification for leadership is the gap between here and a place called there. And there is where more is. That's more impact, more income, more decisiveness, more clarity, whatever more represents for you. And where you are is a place called here, and this is where you are today. And so if you think about this as a rubber band, is this tension that exists between here and there seeks to be resolved. And when you allow this tension to pull you in the direction of your dreams, then that closes the gap. And that's the benefit of tension. It closes the gap between your goals and your reality. And who doesn't want that? Who wants to keep wishing, wanting, and waiting for more income, more impact, more decisiveness, more confidence? I don't. And because you're tuning in, I believe that you also don't want to wait. You want to close that gap between where you are today and where you could be, where your potential is calling you out to be tomorrow. Now, I love this quote by Abraham Maslow. He says, if you plan on being anything less than you are capable of being, you will probably be unhappy all the days of your life. I completely believe this to be true. And why is that so? Because in my role as a coach, I meet with people every day who say, you know what, I'm not where I want to be. I feel bad about I'm living less than my capacity. I know more, I could be more, I could have more, but I'm not there, and that frustrates me. You see, gifted, we're gifted by God to live out our capacities. And those capacities, when they're not given a space to flourish and to thrive, we begin to tune into a frustration. We begin to tune into a discontentment that is holy. Because what happens to grass? Grass grows, hair grows. I don't have any. You know, what happens to trees? Trees grow, they blossom, they expand branches. We are built to expand and to express ourselves in every way. And when we are not doing that, we sense that gap. The second benefit of tension is growing our potential. Growth in our potential only happens when we maintain that tension. But when we lose it, growth stops. Growth stops immediately. Let's look at the third one very quickly. Stretching is inside out. In other words, the inner game is what develops first. The inner game is what develops first, and that's the benefit of tension. In the gym, I use, tension rubber bands a lot. And whenever you're pulling that tension, what happens is that your muscles are stretched to a space that they've never been stretched before. And so they start growing inwardly before you can even see the manifestation on my shoulders and on my back and on my biceps. They start to grow internally. Growth in every way stretches your mind, and that growth happens internally. Look at this quote by James Allen from the book As a Man Thinketh. He says, "You cannot travel within. The stretching is happening inside you, inside your mental faculties." And I'm going to be sharing with you five tensions that you've got to grow in. If you travel within, you will not stand still without. It's impossible to grow internally and yet remain the same externally. I shared this in another space where I said that the challenge in our generation right now is people are, as Jim Rohn said, desperate to improve our circumstances, but unwilling to improve ourselves. And every time you've got a space where people are eager to improve themselves more than they are willing to improve their circumstances more they are willing to improve themselves, frustration is what actually kicks in. Disappointment, pressure is what kicks in. But if we just take care of growing ourselves, guess what happens to our circumstances? Automatically, they grow, they improve. It is not possible to grow within and be remaining stagnant or standing still without. That is what exactly he means. Now, let's look at one more benefit. There's many. Let's look at one more. The benefit of tension as you're growing is that it sets you apart. It sets you apart. The world right now mass produces average. And if there's something that's going to set us apart as peak performers, as leaders, is when we are constantly growing and we are initiating growth and development for ourselves. Here's what I noticed. If you do not create tension in your life, life will create tension for you. Life will create tension for you. The marketplace will create tension for you. It's going to spit you out. It's going to tell you that you're not good enough. Someone else has come in with a better product, with a better service, with something better, and it's going to spit you out. And so before life starts to create tension for you, and you have to start running faster on the treadmill that you had not prepared to run on, how about you begin to grow yourself and develop the tension for yourself? Very quickly, I'm going to mention this as I pass. The 5 tensions that you need to develop. You need to develop for yourself the discipline tension. The discipline tension. Discipline is not something you do. Discipline is somebody that you are. And when you develop for yourself the discipline tension, what you do is you give yourself a shot at stretching your capacity to reach your goals and to reach your dreams. You see, everything worthwhile is uphill. It's not every day that you wake up that you want to run on the treadmill out on the road. It's not every day that you want to eat the food that you need to eat in order for you to take care of your temple. It's not every day that you're looking at the 5 domains of life and you're like, you know what, I'm ready to go. It's not every day. And what matters the most is not on the days when you're feeling like at level 100 and you're ready to go. It's those days when you don't feel like, and the excuses are being presented to you that you say, you know what, I committed to do this and I'm going to make it happen. No one was born with self-discipline. We all choose to develop it at some point in our lives. And even as we're talking about this idea of, you are at a place called here and you want to go to a place called there, that is a great journey. But guess what? The way I see it is that we all know what it is that we want to have. But we all are required to do something. But for us to do something, we must become the person who does what is required in order to have what we want. And this is a discipline journey. It's a self-discipline journey. That's the only thing that delivers to you what exactly you want. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself at another place down here. That's another there that you did not want. And guess what? That there is because there are things that whatever you have there is because of what you did and who you have become. So you get to choose, do I want to go up here or do I want to end up down here? Because over time, exactly, that's what's going to happen. Over time, this is what's going to happen. I love this model. I wish you could just grab this screenshot right now. I love this model. It speaks volumes to me, especially when I'm looking at it, because I do know that what we get, what we have, is determined by who we become because of what we're able to do. So over a period of time, you're going to end up somewhere. You're going to either end up down here or you're going to end up over here. Discipline is going to determine where exactly you end up. The second tension is the risk tension. The risk tension. This is about moving out of your comfort zone, doing what you've never done before, stepping out and trying something that you've not done before. It's challenging yourself. It's saying, you know what, I'm going to step out and I'm going to have what I've never got. And for me to have what I've never got, I'm going to do what I've never done. And in the process, I'm going to become someone I've never done. It's moving from security to risk. It's moving from the known to the unknown. It's stepping out of that. How willing are you to take big risks, to step into the unknown, to try what you've never tried? How willing are you? And if you don't create that tension for yourself, guess what? The market will create it for you. And in the times that we're living in with an increased complexity, the market is going to create for you. Okay, let's get to the next one here. I want to move into, that's my notes right there. The third is the spiritual tension. You want to create a spiritual tension for yourself. And that spiritual tension speaks to your relationship with God. Your relationship with God. There are days in my life when somebody would have told me that I need to build a spiritual tension and I would have been like, why should I bother? Why should I bother? But when I began to understand this idea of love, when I began to embrace that I have been loved, when I began to love myself and that allowed me to receive love, I began to develop the spiritual tension. I began to embrace something that I found difficult to embrace. I want to read for you something that I picked up from John Maxwell's book, No Limit. It's amazing because there are many days I wake up and I see so many pitfalls, so many weaknesses about me. And I normally ask myself, who would love me? Who would accept me with all my shortcomings? And the spiritual tension for me is to embrace God. I don't know what the spiritual tension for you would be, but for me, it is to embrace God. It's to embrace love. It's to embrace what he's already inviting me for. It's to open up my arms and say, yes, I receive your love. I receive your forgiveness. I receive your kindness. I receive life, breath from you. I receive the capacities. I receive the gifts that you've given to me that I did not pay for. And just to embrace that and say, hey, here I am. Because anytime I find that I am too tired, God tells me I will give you rest. Every time I feel like it's impossible, God tells me it's possible. When I say to myself, I don't think anybody loves me, God tells me, remember, I love you. Anytime I feel like, oh my goodness, I'm so exhausted, I can't go on, God says, hey, my grace is sufficient for you. Every time I feel I'm not able, God says, hey, I'm able, and I'm in your camp. Anytime I feel like I've done so much to other people, I cannot even forgive myself for the things I've done, God says, hey, I'm going to forgive you. When I feel I can't manage, it's too much, God says, I'll supply your needs. When I feel afraid, God says, hey, I've not given you a spirit of fear. When I feel I'm not smart enough, God says, hey, I've got wisdom for you. When I feel alone, he tells me, you remember, I will never leave you nor forsake you. When I feel that I can't figure anything out, he tells me, I'll direct your steps. When I feel that I'm always worried and frustrated, he says, cast your cares on me. That is the spiritual tension that I create in my life. When I feel like I want to figure it out for myself, I want to plan my own things like, God, I know you've got me, but I need to figure this thing out for myself. I stop being rigid because this is not flexible. This is rigid. I allow myself to step into the tension, and it's the tension of what I could be in my growth journey with God. Let's look at the third tension, and it's emotional tension. Emotional tension really speaks to our ability to regulate our internal climate. We have been gifted with emotions, and emotions are signals that let us know what is happening in our internal environment and our external environment, to notice triggers and how those triggers cause us to behave and how that behavior has impact on ourselves and on other people. And we need to be able to tune into our own triggers, tune into our own emotional realm to handle that emotional climate internally and know, hey, what exactly do I need to do to shift the state of the emotions that I'm in, to catch my emotions in order for me to navigate the spaces that I'm in. You see, your inner game always runs the outer game, never the other way. And your inner game has a lot to do with your meaning-making system, and your emotional climate is at the top of that. Anytime you think about something, your body, your mind, your brain, flashes chemicals and electrical charge that creates emotions. And emotions have to be expressed. That energy cannot be lost. It has to be expressed. So what is being triggered within you? And being able to identify our emotions and regulate our emotions is part of the tension that I want to encourage you to have in your growth journey as a leader. The final one here is the productivity tension. Productivity tension is you as a leader continuing to move the boundary in your performance, allowing yesterday's success to become the foundation upon which you're going to build something new. You see, I know that you and I have been created by a creative God, and there is no end to our creativity. And so having a productivity tension in place allows you to look at what you did yesterday and realize that that's the worst it will ever be. The best is yet to come from the same place that yesterday's success came from. That has been a profound thing for me. When I started the Peak Performance Lunch and Learn, there is a lot that I had not figured out, that as I do this recording today on episode 20, that I have figured out. And it's because when I started, my first episode was the worst. And today's episode is the worst that it will ever be. This is my worst episode, if I must say. Next week's episode is going to be better. Guess what? Because I am improving. I have the tension to get better, to improve my graphics, to improve my presentation, to improve my technology, to improve my preparation, to improve my examples, to improve my modulation, my voice, my timing, all the dynamics that are involved in getting into the marketplace and creating the result that I know is possible for me, I am shifting that on a day-to-day basis. But again, it starts from being able to say, hey, guess what? Let me take inventory of where I am. Let me take inventory of where I need to be. And let me start taking the little step by step by step by step by step by step by step. It's determination, it's persistence in the growth, development, adjustment, improvement journey. There are 12 tensions that I would have loved to talk to you about, but let me just share with you these 5 tensions right here. 5 tensions. And while we're at that, let me share with you something that I think is really powerful from my mentor Paul Martinelli. As we're in the journey of creating results, what we want is, at whatever point we find ourselves, to start. And to start where we are with what we have, and then we be willing to fail fast. F-A-S-T. Fail as quickly as you can. To fail fast. Fail at the things you need to fail at so that you get good at, and then you improve them. Fail quickly. Don't fail later in front of the whole stadium. Fail fast, early in the day. Early in the day. Adjust it early in the day so that you can get the wins later in the day. And then finally, fail often. So keep trying new things. Oh, do that. It didn't work. Great. Okay, let's try another one. Shoot it in the back. Come back. Let's try another one. Shoot it in the back. Let's go. That's how you create the productivity tension in your growth and development journey as a leader. So again, very quickly, the 5 tensions that you want to have in your life that will improve your leadership: your discipline tension, showing up for your goals; your risk tension, stepping out of your comfort zone; your spiritual tension, receiving from God what you cannot create for yourself, for without Him you can do nothing; emotional tension, regulating your inner game; and productivity tension is how you create results for that which matters to you. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm excited to connect with you again on another Peak Performance Secrets Lunch and Learn. What's the idea that you've taken out from today's session? Please go into the comments, type it in, let me know what has resonated with you, and I'll be happy to connect with you next weekday, which is episode number 21 of Peak Performance Secrets. Thank you so much for tuning in. Blessings, be well, and bye for now.